Here. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be me. I'm happy to be here now. How about you? Let me hear you say it. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be me. I'm happy to be here now. I'm going to talk about this very, very strange French scientific researcher. His name was Jean-Henri Fabre, and he was kind of an odd duck because his mind went places where most scientists' minds don't. He was sitting on his porch one day, and he saw a line of processionary caterpillars crawl by. They're called processionary caterpillars because they travel in a procession. And as I was sitting there looking at that, he began to wonder what their commitment was to that line. Did they ever non-conform and step out of it, or were they pretty rigid in their dedication to it? So he decided to answer this question for himself. He would take the processionary caterpillars and line them up in a circle. And he put a plate on the ground. He lined them up around the plate, beginning to end. There was no beginning or end. They were all in one continuous circle. And he watched them walk. And they didn't stop, they didn't stop, they didn't stop. They continued walking, each one not knowing that nobody was leading the charge. And it got to the point where he thought they were maybe depriving themselves of food or nutrition. So he took pine needles and he put it on top of the plate. That's the natural food of the processionary caterpillar. And still, they continued to walk around the plate until he had to stop the experiment because he could actually see that they were getting weak and they weren't doing what caterpillars do. And his conclusion was that their dedication or their conformity to walking in line was so great that they would actually deprive themselves of the essential nutritional needs that they had to keep themselves alive. It was a habit that they couldn't break. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot until he took it the next step further. And he said, human beings are very much like that. We have habits that are so ingrained in us and that we just follow them automatically. We don't think them out. For example, when you get up in the morning, you don't think about a lot of the things you're going to do. You just do them by habit. And he also came to the conclusion that human beings deprive themselves of so much good, so much of what they need because these habits are in place. You know, like love, like peace, like harmony, like positive self-reflection. All of those things are sometimes deprived because of these habits that we have. Now, this I know to be true about each and every one of us. You're you, I'm me. Each of us has our very unique personality, individual characteristics, likes and dislikes, and belief system. To a certain degree, your belief system is different than anybody else's in the entire world. It's different than anything that's ever been or anything that ever will be. It's your very own belief system. So we have all of these things that shape us into the person that we are and pretty much dictate the life that we're going to live. We also have habits. We have lots and lots and lots of habits. As I said before, we don't get up and reinvent ourselves every day. Our personality and our characteristics and our likes and dislikes are habits that we just do automatically. Some of those habits serve us very well. They help us stay safe, they help us stay secure, they help us do things that we really feel we should be doing and that are good for us, but other habits aren't good at all. They're the result of conditioning. They're the result of things that we've heard. They're the result of things that people have said to us throughout our lifetime that we've accepted as true, and it's become a habit of thought. In Jerome's song, it was, what was it, be kind to yourself? Be gentle with yourself. Well, that is a grand theory, be gentle with yourself, but how many of you in here have at times not been gentle with yourself? Have scolded yourself, or you've sat there and listened to a running commentary inside your head about how you did wrong or how you shouldn't do this or what if that happens, and it just wears you down. And that's a habit of thought. You know, I was contemplating my talk this morning, and I realized that I began to doubt it. I didn't think it had the proper conclusion. I didn't think it was what needed to be said. And the more I thought about that, the more I doubted the talk, and the more I doubted the talk, the more it became less appealing, and pretty soon I literally started feeling ill, physically. Now, I'll tell you why that is. You know, we have instinct, which guides us into a certain situation or circumstance, and there's initial feeling that goes with that. Then that feeling creates thoughts that define whatever the situation is. Those thoughts that define the situation then emit a chemical that is of the very same emotion that those thoughts create. That chemical goes out to the body, and it creates that feeling within the body. If you're fearful, it's just not in your head. Your body picks it up as well. If you're feeling very embarrassed or feeling like you have low self-esteem or any of those other things, you will notice that your body picks it up, and it begins to feel the emotion. Positive emotions make us feel good. Not so positive emotions make us feel not good. Anybody experience that? Yeah, you know what it is. You know when somebody is being disrespectful for you, that doesn't feel good physically. When somebody puts their arms around you and loves you and tells you how great you are, that makes you feel good. So the lesson here is to be alert, to be mindful, to observe those times when we're physically not feeling well, because that tracks back to the thought that is creating it, and then we change that thought, which in most cases is a habit of thought. Here's a way that I can better explain this to you. A woman was having a dream, and in the dream was standing in front of a hallway with a guide next to her. And as he began to usher her down the hallway, she noticed that there were paintings on both sides of the walls, abstract paintings. And the guide explained to her that each one of these paintings represents an important time in your life. At the beginning of the hallway, the paintings were full of vibrant, brilliant colors. Enthusiasm just jumped off the stage, which indicated in her younger years she's very, very happy. Then as she moved along, she came to a painting, and all of a sudden the brilliant colors were kind of dulled down a little bit, and there was a sharp black brush stroke across the middle of it. And he said, well, this is when you started school. If you remember right, you had to struggle. You might have started a little bit early, and the other kids teased you. When you'd come home, your parents would scold you for getting bad grades. It wasn't a real easy time for you. For the first time in your life, you're feeling inferior to a lot of the other kids, and you're feeling like you weren't what your mother and father wanted. Then she continued to walk down the hall. There was a time in high school when her true love broke up with her, and that was a very dark and dismal painting. It just almost appeared like it was crying. And there were good paintings along the way, that had colors, but the brilliance of the colors never really returned from the beginning. She got married and had 2 children, very, very happy times, but that undercurrent or that shadowing of the sad and demoralized colors was still there. And then her husband divorced her. She had to struggle to make ends meet. She turned to alcohol, became an alcoholic. And that painting of her life was very, very tormented. It was full of guilt, and it was full of shame, and it was full of failure, and it was full of defeat, and it was full of anger and hate for her husband leaving her. And then the next painting kind of came up a little bit, but the dark colors were still there. When she got to the end, she realized all the pain and all the agony and all the suffering and all the regret that she was carrying with her. And she turned to the guide and said, is there anything that I can do to make this go away? Can I live my life over? Can I go back and repaint these paintings? And the guy said, no, what's done is done. You cannot change a single thing. All the tears won't wash out a single brushstroke. Nothing can change the color combination of what you're looking at right here. But he said, that was then, and this is now. And with that, he pointed to another canvas on the wall that was clean. It didn't have a mark at all on it. It had never been painted on. And he said, you have a full palette of colors, and you can color whatever you choose. Now, each and every one of us has that same option. Think about yourself standing in front of the hallway of your life with many, many different paintings represent many different times in your life. And think about getting to the end, which is a composite of everything that's happened up until this point in time. What does that painting look like? Are you satisfied with it? Does it feel good? Does it make you happy that you're alive? Or does it have a certain sense of sadness or sorrow that you carry over day after day after day. Even though you have good times and you laugh and you have friends, there's still that undercurrent of sorrow or sadness or anger or something that shows up on your canvas every single day. Then take a step further and say, what would my life look like? How would I feel if I didn't have that in my life? If I took every day brand new and didn't rely on the past, especially the habits of thought from the past, to bring forth how I feel or how I am, what would that canvas look like? And it all begins by breaking the habit of getting up in the morning and going to your canvas and automatically dipping your paintbrush in the grays or the blacks or the smudgy colors that cast a shadow over the bright light of the day, and stopping and thinking, I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. I want to be comfortable with myself. I want to be at home in my body. I want to be at home on this earth. And then began to paint that painting. Now, every single artist that paints something or that sculpts something or does something in an artistic way, before they even begin, they have a vision. Something stirs within them that tells them, this is what I want it to be when it's complete. Same is true for us. We might say, I want to be happy tomorrow. Well, what does that look like? We can't just think the thoughts. We have to feel the emotion. You can do affirmations all day long. I am glad to be me, I'm glad to be me, I'm happy to be me, I'm happy to be me. But if there's not emotion behind that, they're just words. And the thinking mind takes words, but it doesn't really act on them. The emotional mind is the part that allows us to feel and to act and to react and to do different things that will allow that emotion to manifest in our lives. So if we're going to break a habit, we do two things. First of all, we have the vision in our mind of how we want to be, not tomorrow or not the next day or next week, say Easter, 45 days. You imagine the kind of person you want to be in one small little way by Easter, and every single day you just draw up that vision and you think about it, you see yourself, you feel the emotions that you'll have at that time, and it might be the release of anger, it might be getting over resentment, it might be giving up all sorts of negative habits of thought that no longer have a place in your life. And you begin to imagine that, and it comes to be. Because the mind cannot tell the difference between something real and something imagined in great detail. As a matter of fact, you get up this morning, you remember how you were yesterday, and you pretty much are that same person today. So we have the memory of the future. And that seems like it's kind of a paradox, because normally memories are assigned to the past. But a memory of the future is remembering, when you get to that point, how you want to be, how you want to act, and what you want to do. Now, here I am with the unsettledness that I had this morning when I was reviewing this talk. Everything went kind of fine and dandy right down the path until I got to this point, and that's when I became unsettled because I didn't have any more words. I didn't know what else to think. And that is why I had Donna Johnson come down here so she can come up and help me finish this talk. Come on up, Donna. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay. This is Donna Johnson, by the way. She is the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministries, and that is the organization that's over all the Unity churches all over the world. She's the CEO. She's a big shot. And let's just hear what she has to say. So help me with this, Donna. We know that, as I just explained, that we are creatures of habit, that our thoughts are habitual. Some of those habits don't serve us well, and some of us hurt. Some of them cause suffering. And we came up with a very nice, slick solution. We'll just sit down and imagine yourself in a different way 45 days from now, Easter. When Christ rises, we will rise up from all that muck that we've been walking in. But it doesn't seem like it's that easy.
Why not?
That's why she's the CEO. Well, what is it? And we're talking about We're talking about, I imagine from what I heard you say earlier, we're talking about levels of awareness.
Yes.
And one level of awareness holds us into our negative habits of thought. And with another one, we leave the negative habits of thought behind.
Well, I believe every experience we have comes to bless us. So if you can believe that, even though you may be going through some really tough stuff, if you can believe that everything comes to bless you, then there's an opening for a higher vibration to begin to blossom, to take root, and to grow. So what is that higher vibration? I know for Duke it's peace, because that's his mantra, peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit. Some of us may be working with a different energy. Maybe it's we need to learn to forgive and love, or just learn to be happy, to stop being habitually sad. Because as Duke said, the thoughts that we have produce chemicals. And when we experience these chemicals in our body long enough, the body says this is what's normal. It has a set point. So when we try to change our minds and break our habits, our body pulls us back to how we've been habitually for years. It's like, no, you can't be happy. Remember, you told me you were sad and depressed. You've told me that for 5 years now. So this is normal. This is how I need to feel in order to know I'm alive. So I believe to change, we first set the intention of how we want to feel. We get an idea, but we need to step into feeling that now by choice. I know one of the tools to do that is to think of a time when you were very peaceful, or when your heart was really open and you felt a great deal of love. Recall that, step into that vibration as often as you can so that the body begins to have a different signal. When we can sustain that vibration of how we want to be, who we want to be, the color combinations we want on that canvas, when we bring ourselves to that point of living it experientially here and now, then the universe begins to give us evidence of that. And that's when our life begins to shift on the outer. The evidence that we seek in our lives that things are getting better happens only when we have already made the shift internally. Because first it happens in consciousness, and then the universe reflects that consciousness back to us. Does that help?
It does. It sounds great. Donna has been here how long now in Kansas City? How long have you been here in Kansas City?
Since September.
September. She came here from Virginia and took on that position, but she has made an incredible impact since she came here, so we're very happy to have her as a part of this particular church. Now, some of you might be thinking, my God, I didn't come to church this morning to get a complete overhaul. I just need a little bit of tune-up. And I'm not talking about taking you as you are and completely changing everything. You don't need that. You're perfect just the way you are. You're good. The fact that you're here, I think that you have an interest in continuing to progress down your unique and individual path of life. But there might be something, just one little thing, a memory from the past that is disturbing, some characteristic you have that doesn't serve you well, is something that you would like to change. You'd like to stop doing one thing and start doing another that is going to support you and be of benefit. So in that regard, think of one little thing, and it might involve forgiveness. Maybe you've been carrying a grudge for years and years and years about someone in the past, somebody that hurt you, somebody that betrayed you. Maybe this is the time. I don't want that mark on the canvas today. So I'm not going to use that particular color. I'm not going to allow that thought to exist in my mind and allow those chemicals to come down and make me feel physically ill. Whatever it might be, if you're happy, great. You can be happier. If you're at peace, great. You can be at greater peace. Whatever it is, if you imagine it, and you imagine it to the point where you feel the emotion in it, there's no other choice but for it to manifest as you move through your life. So as we move into meditation, think a little bit about that. If you have if you have nothing to change, if you're thinking, man, I'm perfect the way I am, I'm happy, why is this guy putting questions in my head about things that I need to change? Well, if you're happy, then see everybody else as being happy. We'll now move into meditation. As we move into meditation, take a moment to just inhale deeply, hold it for a moment, and then exhale. Take a moment to squeeze your fingers into your hands as tight as you can. Make it very, very tense, and then let go. And as you do, feel the comfort and the ease that comes over them. And now we want to do that same thing with our minds. Any thoughts that might be tense or might be stressful, any thoughts of a negative nature, whatever it might be, just exhale and allow those thoughts to be breathed out. Breathe in peace. Breathe in harmony, breathe in love. Today is an empty canvas. It is pure potential. We can do with it whatever we choose. Anything can happen. So we ask ourselves, do we want to repeat yesterday? Or do we want to move forward and experience a new day in and of itself? Do you want to be the same person you were yesterday or the day before? To a certain degree, yes. But it is thrilling and it is fulfilling to make a positive change in oneself and see that change expressed into the world. Life is totally fair. It provides potential for every person. It provides emotional range for every person. And we take that great gift and we utilize it for our well-being and the well-being of other people. slowly and ever so gently begin to bring your attention back to this time and this place. And do so with a renewed sense of spirit, a heightened sense of mind, a deeper sense of good feeling.